Hey everybody, it's Alec here, back at it with another episode of the show. And today I am joined by
Melani Sessa.
Melanie. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm excited to have an epic conversation with you.
Me too.
Great. So the first question I like to ask is, how do you spend your time on planet Earth?
How do I spend my time on planet Earth? Well, in my age, Alex, I've seen a lot of planet Earth, and the things that I love to do mostly revolve around relationships with my family and friends. That is the thing that fuels my fire. So whether it's traveling or, doing something entertaining, going to a show, if I more of a relationship building opportunity I can grab, I do it. So that's what I spend most of my time with other people. And then for my own self, whatever's going to fuel my soul, I do that as well.
What do you do that to fuel your own soul?
So I have a strong relationship with God. So I spend a lot of time in scripture. I spend a lot of time journaling,
Mhm.
and I spend a lot of time in personal physical development as well. So working out, making sure I am fueling my body so that I can continue to live and enjoy the relationships that I have.
Amazing. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what does your relationship with God specifically look like?
How would you describe your relationship with God? Because I'm not really sure what you're looking for with that. It's a personal relationship.
Yeah.
It is one where I spend a lot of time speaking and listening and delving into his word so that I can better get a better idea of who he is and how I fit into his plan.
For sure. So for somebody that, let's say, because I think faith is an extremely strong component to any entrepreneur's journey, and I believe it makes all the difference. So how have you always been very faith-based, or what has your evolution, like what has been your evolution with your relationship with God?
So I was raised in a Christian home, right? But there comes a
Yeah.
time in your journey where your faith becomes your own.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, maybe something happens, maybe you have a aha moment, maybe the scales come off of your eyes, your heart, or your mind, and you
Mhm.
realize that there's way more out there than just you,
Yeah.
and there is something that may happen after here, after this life. And so that was, I came to a point in my 20s where I was confronted with a lot of those questions. And
Yeah.
when the gosh, this is really personal. When the war in 1992, war with Iraq,
Yeah.
was happening, that was really an eye-opening experience for me because, hey, these are kinds of some things that that's a very holy and sacred area, and maybe that has something to do with what could be happening in the end of the world. I had all these questions. I was, young 20s, and so I revisited the faith that I was raised on
Hmm.
and tore back some things and came to a realization that I must be born again to enter the kingdom of God. That's my journey.
Okay. You must be born again. So what did that look like for you?
So, I don't know how deep you want to get into this, but Jesus said in John, you must be born again to enter the kingdom of God. So, born again in the spiritual sense is
Mhm.
not that you go through a birth process physically, but it's a birth process spiritually.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what it was. I recognize I had a foundation in my Christian faith.
Hmm.
And when things happened in my life where I had to make some decisions, and
Hmm.
God just opened up my eyes to a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for that because how many years later, almost 30 years later, that foundation has carried me through the most difficult times in a person's life.
For sure. So what were some of those decisions that you had to make?
How was I going to live my life? If I
Yeah.
truly am the person I say I am, what does that mean in my everyday? What I do, what I say, how I respond, how I build my business, how I treat clients, how I treat people. Um, and is it really the priority that I say it is? And what does my day look like if that's true?
Hmm. Did you feel like there were a lot of incongruencies at that time?
No, I didn't. I just didn't know that I was very young. So I wasn't building a business, right? I was
Yeah.
in college. But it helped me to make choices that were in alignment with who I said I was. Because if, you know, you've been in college or you're a young person, there's a lot coming at you
Yeah.
that may not be the best choices when those are played out over different years
Yeah.
of your life. I have kids who are teens and 20s. And so I see that they are in that stage of life where they have to make choices. And so that's what it was for me back then.
Yeah. So it seemed like you gained a lot of self-awareness at a relatively young age.
Yes. People call me an old soul.
Yes. And, like, and that's fantastic. And a lot of people, it takes them a lot longer to really ask really deep questions. They might not have these conversations with themselves or with God until they're in their 30s and their 40s and stuff like that. So you having that awareness at a younger age, why do you think that is? Why do you think it came so much sooner? And how do you think it really went into your purpose of who you are and what you're doing?
Those are some big questions, Alex. Um, I don't know why it came earlier, but now that I've lived more than half of my life, I can see how that kind of a foundation was vital for
Hmm.
me to survive the hardest things I've had to go through. So I can say that for sure. And what was your second question in relation to that?
It was going to be like, how do you feel those conversations that you have with yourself in your in God play into like how you spend your time today, whether it's in regards to professionally, personally, that sort of thing? Because I
Yeah,
know you're a coach and we're going to talk about that, but how do you feel like this is all related?
these are a lot of big questions. How is it all related? It has created the character qualities of my, I feel, for me, of someone who's authentic and lives her life in integrity. My core values are love, loyalty, and significance. And because everyone is significant, right? We're all um whether we believe in God or not, you are of significance. You have value just because you're a human being. And
Yeah.
if we treat each other with love, love is the greatest gift that we were given. And loyalty extrapolates out into honesty and trust. And so having that journey earlier in my life helped me not only personally, which was the most important, but business wise. And I was a stay-at-home mom from, I still consider myself a stay-at-home mom, even though I build a business online and I work full-time. I'm
Yeah.
here. I'm here.
Yeah.
And that's my most important quote unquote job.
For sure. And thanks for sharing all that. So how has your journey as a coach evolved? How did you get started, and what are some of the things that have led to you becoming the person that you are today?
Well, oops, hold on, there's something on my screen. My journey. How did I? Well, my background is when I got my master MBA in international marketing before social media, before the
Yeah,
internet, all of that,
yeah,
and was in corporate marketing for a while. Then when I became a mom, again chose to be at home with my kids, and then started about 18 months into being a stay-at-home mom in the network marketing space because it was a
yeah,
great way to use my skill set to create a business in with time flexibility. So I'd been doing that since 2001. Um, and then was just building there. I also was a college professor of marketing um, when my kids were in school. I could because I could do that part time. And then when let's see, the pandemic happened, I had friends in the business world saying, "How
hmm,
do I do this online?" Because I had been teaching social media marketing and all of it at the college. And I'm like, all right, so I guess I'm going to create a coaching program because people are asking me for it because I had the
yeah,
traditional marketing understanding and I had the social media digital marketing understanding. And so was able to create something that was really foundational that people could understand who were my
yeah,
age, 40s and 50s, but also that they could understand how to apply it to those platforms that are free, that are awesome, that everybody should be using. So
yeah,
that's how that came about. And so I'm still building in my network marketing space and I still offer coaching. Sometimes I lean more than on the other, depending on the
yeah.
need and what I'm doing and what my heart feels led to do. But that's how I started in that.
Awesome. So who is your ideal client
Mm.
for coaching?
Yeah, my ideal client is a midlife woman
Hmm.
who has who is living her life, not lived, it's not over, but she's poured herself into everything, whether it's her job and or her kids and or her marriage and or her community. And so her identity is kind of in those things she's done, and she
Hmm.
forgets who she is. And so with that, she also has an incredible amount of a life journey to share,
Hmm.
stories, wisdom, experience, that when she takes that and creates a brand around it, which she doesn't know what that is, but she
Hmm.
creates a brand around it and finds what she wants to share with the world, whether it's a product or a program, or just she wants to be on TikTok and creating, this is how I live my life videos. It's that
Yeah.
woman who may be looking to do something. Maybe I had a friend reach out to me the other day. She was like, I'm 50 something years old and I see these girls doing this stuff on TikTok and I could be an influencer like that. I'm like, you sure could. You sure could. We have so much value to give. So that's my ideal person that I work with.
Awesome. So it doesn't necessarily matter what they want to pursue in business. It's just a mentality of, hey, I kind of want to reinvent myself, maybe go on a new career path, create something that I'm really excited about.
Yeah, foundationally. And then we kind of figure out which vehicle is the best, whether it's digital marketing, create network marketing, affiliate marketing, or just she wants to have fun online.
What's your favorite client success story?
Oh gosh. So I worked with a top leader in a company. I'm not going to say the name. And she just couldn't get over the six figure mark um, for her business. And so I have a process where I pull
Mhm.
out her life. We just look at her life and we pull out stories, we pull out significant, we pull out what's valuable, and then we create brand story around it, content around it. And it feels
Mhm.
really good to her because she's
Mhm.
just sharing what she already knows. And
Mhm.
she's doing it in a way with passion and integrity and authenticity that makes her very relatable. And so
Yeah.
people lean into those stories because when you tell a story, when you're at a party or whatever, when you're animated and you're into it because it's your story and your belief, people are attracted to it. So all
Yeah.
to say, we went through our 12 weeks together. We had that when my program was 12 weeks back then. And she finally became a six-figure earner. And that just is so excited because here she's at the top of the
Um,
company and she can't get her. People think she's making multiple six. And she's like, Melanie, I'm not. I'm like, well, let's get into what pieces are you missing? Because people loved her. She was very attractive in the social media sense. But for whatever reason, there were some pieces missing and we were able to put that together. So I just love that.
this reminds me of a quote that I really like, which is you can either be perfect and admired, you can either be perfect and admired or real and loved.
I love that. Yeah, because that's really it. That's what we take with us, right? Is the what we left behind as far as relationships and how we impacted people.
Yeah, but also reminds me of the trio, which is ethos, pathos, and logos, which is ego. I mean, ethos is like people have to really like who you are as a person. Like
Mhm.
pathos is like they know that you're smart and that you're capable. But even if you're smart and capable, you also have to be relatable as a person. Especially
Yeah.
when you're selling coaching or helping people grow their income or something like that. Like there has to be that personal connection. Are there any things like personally in your story, like elements of your story that have been really relatable to other people that you share on social media?
Yes. I lost my oldest child, and as a grieving mother,
Yeah.
it's just opened up people's hearts to connect with me and me to connect with them in a way that not many people understand.
Yeah. That's powerful.
Yeah,
It's really interesting because I've been reading this book by, do you know Dr. John DeMartini? Have
I
you heard of
don't. I don't.
He has this book called The Breakthrough Experience, where he talks about, hey, with every positive comes a negative, and with every negative comes a positive. And it's with the positive and the negative that come together to create light. So it's like everything that has been really challenging or the hardest things, if you really look for the opportunity, if you really look for it, there's actually a lot of opportunity in some of the things that are the hardest in our lives.
Well, it's funny that you say that, not funny, but about a few months after my son died, since I'm a writer and I'm a content creator, I just created an Instagram account so that I could help process the things I'm going through.
Yeah.
And it wasn't meant to do anything but be there for me. And sometimes that's what your content is for. It's for you just to express yourself. Well,
Yeah.
I've gained a massive following over there. I'm not selling
Mhm.
anything. I've
Yeah.
gained a massive following over there of moms and other grievers who feel connected, feel seen, heard, and loved, and just have a place that we hold space for each other because we understand each other.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just crazy what can come out of some of the most difficult things. It's even like, how many times over has the world been completely destroyed by nature? You know, like entire species wiped out. But what has been the outcome of that? Oh, there's all these new species, all these different landforms, all of that. So it's like with all of the chaos, there becomes a lot of positive as a result,
If you allow it to
if you allow
in
it
your
to.
personal life, right? We're not in control of what God decides to do in nature, but in our personal lives, because there are many people who get stuck,
Yeah.
and that's for the grieving community. That's what I'm there for, just to share what I'm doing. Because when you know that you have someone to walk alongside you, then you can unstick yourself, if that's the right word.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you believe are the most powerful ways to become unstuck? I understand the community element, what you're talking about, but do you want to expand on that at all? Any other things?
So for when I working with my team or my clients, it's you have to, I know this is so cliche, but you have to keep showing up. You have to do the things that you know work. You have to be consistent.
Yeah.
So in those days that you feel like I don't want to be on social media, you got to be on. On those days you don't feel like reaching out to your customers to check in with them, you have to do it. You just have to do it. It's like planting those seeds. And again, it's a very general analogy, but you have to keep doing the things, planting and watering and planting and watering, and it will reach, the success that you want, the goal that you want. Because if you stop, that's your failure. And that's in anything in life. Even with my kids, like when they get frustrated at things when they were little, oh, I don't want to do this because I'm not the best one on the team. Doesn't matter. You keep doing it, you keep getting better.
Yeah. So for anybody that, has got up this morning and it was difficult because they have all these problems that they're thinking about, but they know they need to show up, but it might be difficult, what advice do you have for them?
This gets me emotional because you don't know who is waiting for you to show up on the other side of you showing up. Maybe it's
Mm,
that mom who needs to hear that she's not alone. Maybe it's that woman over 50 who wants to know or needs to hear that her life isn't over because her kids left or her husband left or whoever. So who you have to envision that person who's on the other side of your obedience for showing up.
yeah. That's super interesting because yeah, just from the fact of showing up and doing the thing, like especially with social media, you're gonna impact people. Just like the social media thing. Like, maybe I'm not inspired to post on social media, but with that post I'm putting out, like I'm definitely gonna help somebody or anything. Even the fact of just, oh, I don't want to go to the store, I don't want to run these errands. There's always, even if we don't see it, you're saying like there's always something like of doing anything, you're always of service to somebody else, no matter what you're
Yeah.
doing.
If our lives were focused on selfless service, like just giving without expecting anything in return, what you actually get in return can transform your life.
Yeah, yeah. There's this book I really like. It's called Inner Excellence, and it became really popular recently. And it talks about a lot of our root problems are centered in are built around self-centeredness.
For sure.
Yeah,
For sure. And then that's as you grow and become a parent, a spouse, and there's people in your life who every day count on you for showing up,
yeah.
that self-centeredness kind of has to be destroyed, has to dismantle itself.
What do you think your biggest breakthrough has been in the last 12 months?
My son's death.
Hmm.
That has changed everything. Death has put a magnifying glass on life that nothing ever could. And so, what am I going to do with that life? What am I going to do with the time I have left? Because his life was shortened. So, what am I going to do with what I have left?
And thinking into the future, what do you imagine your biggest breakthrough is going to be in the next 12 months?
Yeah, I think it's going to be the battle cry that I have for women my age, that they are going to rally around that, because I know what they're feeling. And I know that they're also looking, they're all past the midpoint of their
Yeah.
life. What do they want their second half or their third act to be like? Whatever you want to call it. I call it your spotlight season. Is that now you've gone through all of that. You've grown, you've changed, you've gone through, gosh, deaths and grieving and divorces and menopause and births and all of it. Like, you have so much wisdom. Now what are you going to do with it? And I want to be that person to help them have that voice that they probably
Yeah.
feel they don't have anymore.
So it really feels like over the last year or two, like you've more so discovered your life purpose more now than ever, at
God
least for
will do
this.
that. I think your life purpose, I think purpose changes.
Yeah, totally.
And then in each major or even minor thing that happens can refocus, where you're
Hmm.
looking at and what you want, what you're called to do.
Yeah, because I feel like people are like, oh, discover your passion, but I feel like the passions always change.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And the vehicle to get there.
Yeah.
For sure.
What do you what was my other question going to be? I forgot it off the top of my head. This is what it was. So it seems like you obviously have a really good head on your shoulder, head
Thank you.
on your shoulder. You're embodying faith, you're focused on doing what you need to do, you show up every day the best that you can. What are the things though that you do every day? They might be the habits or routines that help you be in that place.
Yeah. So I start my day in God's word. I journal. I also read. Um, I nourish my body. I work out. I have to do all of those things. And then I make sure I connect with my people,
Yeah.
meeting my kids and my husband. I have my mom, she lives far away, sisters and brothers. Because here's the thing, you might know this already. Harvard did an extensive long year study, and it discovered that longevity or a happy life is not based on your salary, your rank. It's based on your relationships.
Yeah.
So that is the most important thing.
Yeah. The blue zones.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, it's super interesting. Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
I think back to, yeah, the people that live the longest are normally the people that are the happiest, and the happiest people are surrounded by like their family and good friends and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Because even like really positive emotions can help overcome any disease or anything that could.
true. 93% of disease is lifestyle driven. So what are we doing every day
Yeah.
to make sure we live healthy and happy?
Yeah, and it's like a
Awesome.
lot of the reason, I forget the statistic. It's like 70 to 80% of people that have problems with their body, it's all psychological, based out of like it originates from something psychological.
I believe it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm partnered with a mental wellness company, Natural Products, and I have a lot of that information. And I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
Because even if you're dealing with financial challenges, right, that's going to stress you out. And that stress can
Mhm.
lead to inflammation, which can lead to a whole host of problems in your body.
So the last question I have for you, Melanie, is let's say it's the end of your life. You've done everything that you've wanted. However, for whatever reason, there's nothing to show for it. There's no YouTube videos, there's no Instagram, there's no books, nothing like that. But you have a megaphone and you can talk to the entire world at once, and you can share three things that you know to be true about the world around you. Wisdom for the people. What do you share with them?
Love God, love people, and just do the thing, because you'll regret not trying, even if you fail.
Yeah, amazing. Short to the point, powerful. Well, Melanie, where can the people find you?
So you can find me on Instagram and Facebook, Melanie, Melani, no E, thanks mom and dad, Sessa, Sessa.
Amazing. Well, thanks again for being on the show. Really enjoyed this one.
Thank you for inviting me, Alex. I appreciate you and I enjoyed it too.